Welcome to Season 7. It's been a long time. We've been waiting a year for this. And yes, we know it's the final mission. It's a last run, but man, time travel, Chronicoms, saving Hydra. This is going to be one hell of a final mission. It's the season premiere of Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S. Season 7, Episode 1. The New Deal. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to the return of Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S. So yes, of course, spoilers, man. We are diving into there. Also, do want to remind you about our quick jump index system. Right in the description below of this entire review, titleized, time-stamped, broken down into easily digestible chunks. So you can watch the end of the review first. You can watch the beginning last. You can watch this review in any order you'd like. So before I get into the review itself, just do want to kind of throw out, I hope everyone's being safe out there today. I was actually very glad that I got to watch Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S. here in LA. There are protests going on in downtown against the police. They're mirroring a lot of the protests in Minneapolis with against kind of a persistent police brutality. Look, let's be honest, folks. Racism is still very prevalent in the United States today. We get to see little shots of it in Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S. in the episode this week. Those are still prevalent. Those are still riding on through many systems in the U.S. We can think that we have grown and evolved, and certainly we have from where we were. There are still places to go. What encourages me is that this is not one racial group protesting. This is everyone. White people, brown people, black people, all protesting against unjust, racist, motivated police violence. I have police in my family. I understand the difficulties of the job. I understand the challenges of it. However, it is a power structure, and those power structures can be exploited. So please, if you are protesting, I support you. I completely understand you. Just be safe out there. We don't want this to snowball into something that loses control and unfortunately takes away from the focus of the message that's trying to be sent today. So I don't want to get too far into that. Again, it is mirroring things that are going on in the episode tonight. So I think that it's important to touch on. Also, I hope you're all getting through this whole COVID pandemic. So again, when it rains, it pours. It's not just one thing. These things snowball. Which actually is a perfect transition into our review this week, because the agents are back in time, well, kind of to stop that snowball effect from happening. The Chronicoms have gone back in time with a mission to undo S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S. They have studied human history, they have studied our anthropology, they have studied all of our ways for hundreds of years, and they know, from what they say, the exact strings to pull to unravel points of the future. A very kind of exciting idea. And of course, time travel, there's been a lot in Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S. the past couple of years, and in Marvel in particular. So this is not new territory by any means, but it is a great way to explore the past, explore new sides of the characters, how they are interacting in a world that is not exactly the same, that is the world that they know, but not in the same way that it is. Seeing both Daisy and Mac kind of deal with the sexism and racism of the 30s was nice. They didn't dwell too much on it, which I thought was good, but it is an important point, because you can't just have Mac go back to the 1930s and just be interacting with everyone the same as he would be now in 2020. So I really, it's important to kind of touch on those issues. Well, like I said, not too much, but overall, it was a good episode. It was great setup. Like most season 1 episodes, there is not a whole lot that goes on. We are basically trying to determine, what the mission for this season is going to be. Again, time travel, stop Chronicons. They want to stop S.P.O.I.L.E. Mission 1 starts back in 1931, where eventually we find out that in order to save S.P.O.I.L.E., you have to save Hydra. Always rearing up its head, Hydra. So, again, just I think a really good episode. Nice little moments. Not anything super big. Really just set up for the adventure that we can expect to see over the next 13 episodes or 12 more. And let's be honest, we want it to be more. But I think they will give us one hell of a final ride. All right, so let's kick things off big. Let's go straight to our Scene of the Week for this week. And it's easy to do that because it is our first one. Look, some good fights in here, some great moments that I do want to touch on, especially the last one. But the opening scene, again, we got sort of a sneak preview of this at the season finale of season 6, where they wake up the LMD, new advanced LMD version of Coulson. The fact that they take us from that point and then we get to see the rest of that interaction was a great choice. It's a perfect transition over into the new season. And more to the point, it gave us all of the feels. I was tearing up watching this. It's a wonderful job by Clark Gregg, who is just amazing as Coulson, but going through all of those little moments and all of it registering on his face. Again, when you take an actor that can really live up a scene and really make it real, you can see the experience going on their face. I mean, that's really what the job is all about. And he did just an amazing job with this, of going through the 2 years and 10 seconds. What is it that he says? And also, of course, the reactions of everyone around him. I mean, there's Daisy, who is just, as the daughter figure, really feeling that. Mac, who is concerned. I love that later on, Olsen mentions that, yeah, of course you don't want to do it because you hate robots. He's got all the memories, folks. And then even Simmons just like, I'm not sure I've done everything that I can. So in some ways, very helpless, watching as Phil goes through all of these just intense memories and recollections and realizations of who he is, and the anger that he didn't want to be in LMD, and kind of, I mean, obviously later he expects Mac's got to kind of shut him down, but just those few moments just gave us all of that emotion, pulled us right into the angst, the confusion, the conflict that this new version of Coulson is going through. It was just, to kick off the season, to really bring us right back into the moment, I think it was a perfect choice. I think if they had sort of passed that and just kind of had the scenes as dialogue, almost like the walkthrough that they do later on when they first arrive back into New York and they're walking down and, Daisy's enjoying, things aren't in black and white, and Coulson's like, do I have gears? If they had just jumped to that, we would have lost all of that emotional. So I think it was a really good choice to include that and show that conflict that Coulson is going through. Because like he tells Mac afterwards, I'm good with it now. I will do anything for you. Later, we'll reassess. And ultimately, I think it's going to really be a big judgment from the fandom on how this season is going to be perceived, on how they deal with the Coulson LMD. They sort of hint at it here at the beginning, so at the end, I'm really hoping that I want real Coulson back. But I'm really curious to see how this version is going to sort through the season and what his plans would be afterwards. All right, so I do want to take a moment and talk a little bit about time travel. Obviously very important for this season, but this is something we've seen many times before, not just in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but also in the larger MCU in general. And like I said, they've kind of played with little different versions of what it is you can do. With Doctor Strange, he had the Time Stone, and that kind of looks more like a DVR, a forward and back type of thing. However, obviously, he was able to travel back and alter a particular line of the future. So that made the future sort of unpermanent. With Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Season 5, we dealt more with the multiverse type of theory, or with the possible changes of future. Yes, you could jump forward and you could jump back, and you could make changes that could change that future. Though they also threw in more the idea of the multiverse theory, that perhaps you weren't necessarily jumping back and forth onto your timeline, but any of those travels would not be through you, but through a parallel universe. You jump from your universe to a parallel, and any change that you do with that doesn't necessarily affect the line that you do. Now, Season 5, it did, because, changed the future, the world didn't end, and all that stuff. However, Deke was still around, so you can kind of interpret that in a couple of different ways. With Endgame, they really leaned into the multiverse theory. You can travel back in time, change things, move things around, but you can't change your original timeline. That is always the same. So again, that's kind of you're jumping into these parallel universes, you change things, you grab time stones, come back to your place, and then jump back to that other universe and give the time stones back, and all of that such. Here, I like that Deke takes a moment and talks about the ripples and waves, which of course is something that Mac repeats often to himself throughout this episode. Which, again, isn't so much the same as parallel universes, but the idea is you could create offshoots. Something along the lines of what the Ancient One sort of mentions with Hulk, if you take out a time stone. If you can jump back like a stream, you can jump back, mess around, and so on, but just a few little ripples, a few tiny little things, it's not going to change the course of the river. Throw up a dam, river changes, future's all permanently changed and adjusted. It works fine with what was happening in Season 5 as well. It sort of plays along the same sort of ideas. So again, we've seen several different versions of this. And right now, look, let's just accept that you have to save the future. This is kind of a Doc Brown type situation, Marty McFly Back to the Future deal. If you change too much of the past, then you will definitely change the future. So I do like that they sort of take a moment to at least codify the rules that we're going to see for time travel in through this season, because I know there can be something that really can sort of warp people's brains. Now, how are they doing that? Well, with tides is what Fitz sort of refers to them, or for Jemma, there are specific launch windows that lead to specific areas of moments in time, I guess, where these changes can make an effect. Or at least these were just the windows that they find, kind of like a wormhole or something like that. So the Chronicoms going back here to 1931 to change the future. They want to throw a dam into this stream. They want to pull the thread of the tapestry of time, fabric of time. And I love, again, how they sort of play with these concepts. It's always fun when you don't know what the enemy is going after. You think it's one thing, and then it ends up being another one. Like I said, the whole FDR bit, and that was a great, wonderful bit, too. They really played up a lot of Coulson's history appreciation here. Not only can he have instant recall of things that he could barely remember as a human, but of course, now as an LMD, yeah, it sucks to be back in that way, but you got to shake FDR's hand. So, not really a bad deal. But of course, what it really comes down to, it's not stopping FDR, it's not killing him and thus keeping him from creating the SSR and thus eventually S.H.I.E.L.D. itself, but it's disrupting Hydra, which, again, I love the redirect, and so much more interesting in that sense, too, because it's not what you think it is, it's something else. And not only is it not that you have to save the heroes, you actually have to save the villains and allow that horror to happen in order to do it. It's going to create, I think, a lot of interesting conflicts throughout this season. Can we make changes for the better in the future, or if you make those changes, do you create basically a chaotic future where anything could happen? I think those are going to be some really fun ideas down. Also tying this all back to the Malik family really keeps it in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s wheelhouse, and I think is a nice thing for those of us who have been with the series since the very beginning, and can really appreciate all of these small little Easter eggs dropped off for us. All right, so there are a few other moments that I want to kind of touch on, or character moments, I guess. The first, of course, is Ernest Hazard Koenig. I love seeing Patton Oswalt back. We love having Koenig back, and it's a great chance for, again, an actor to sort of live in a character's shoes. That's a different version of that character. Obviously, we're talking about father-grandfather right here, as opposed to just another brother. But again, very different, but also engaging. I love how he's yelling at the people around him. They come in peace. You hear that, you meat bags? They come in peace. You know, just I love the whole idea. Even the fact when he throws out kind of shadow to Mac there. It's a little racist reference there. Mac just shooting him down, and he kind of shuts that up. He's just, I'm really going to enjoy this sort of version of Koenig, the sort of speakeasy mob boss aspect of him. I think it's a nice treat for us as fans to see this character return, but again, in sort of a different way. From an emotional standpoint, with Yo-Yo, when she got her new hands, I mean, I love how Simmons sort of has that little conversation with her, where Yo-Yo was talking like, I don't want new hands. This is who I am. I don't want to forget this. Again, it's the personal identity thing. But the fact that she could have new hands, she could have that feeling, that sense of touch. It was really just, again, another quiet moment that's just all reaction, all experience, no dialogue needed, when she just kind of pulls that up and just touches her face like, oh my God, I haven't been able to feel anything with my hands. It was just, it really was a nice moment. And also, I mean, even her reaction to the Shrike bit, because again, she had alien stuff in her, which was why Mac didn't want her leaving. Also, robot hands. But how that's breaking down. So again, we touch on what has happened really like right before all of this. And the show hasn't forget it. Always really appreciate it when we have this acknowledgement of past actions. And lastly, this was almost my scene of the week. But again, close second. Jemma has a thing against Chronicoms. Again, she was always so peaceful, so quiet, and over the seasons, through her experience, how that kind of dark side, that the dedicated side of Jemma has sort of emerged. When she stabs the back of that Chronicoms head, there is just, oh man, it's just a little bit of Chronicon torture. Let's be honest, Jemma's doing a little bit of torture. There is some definite repressed feelings. We don't know how long that she's been out there. All that we've gotten so far is, it's been a long time. Years, at least? How she's been dealing with Chronicoms and so on. Again, we're going to have some more interesting backstory. We already know the shit that she's gone through with her. Sorry. With the Chronicoms and stuff from last season with her and Fitz. So we know why this would be there. I'm just assuming that a lot more has happened of since. But gosh, that moment where Diaz is like, is that the data point? No. Just stabs in the back of the head. Oh my God. No, that wasn't deep, but you know what I mean? It was just, the brutality of it. And on her face was just like, nope, we're just doing it. I guess I thought of Deke because Deke's also stabbing people in the face with the, no, nothing but era-appropriate technology. I love Deke. Faceless Guys was awesome. And apparently that is a big Canadian thing. I did not know that. And last, I do want to talk about that epilogue scene with May. Because, damn, she is going full Batman ninja there. Come on, that reminds you all of that BVS scene right in the beginning when Batman's up there and the cops are going. Just all up in the ceiling, looking over. Just, super cool. Now, why she's reacting this way, not entirely sure. She should recognize the Zephyr. I know that it's changed and stuff. But she should sort of recognize, is she out? Does she still think that she might have gotten captured? Maybe she still thinks that she's in the dark side in hell. Sort of where she was killed. So, I don't really know. I just found it let's reintroduce May in the most badass way. There you go. You just did it. And I really want to see how she's going to come back next. Because I think Jemma said she should be back to herself in a week or two. Yeah, it is not taking that long. All right, just a couple of small things. One, always appreciate Chronicom speech, their directness and kind of inability to color their language at all. I mean, we've already seen it with Enoch, even at the end when he's going up with May. It is I, Enoch, your conscious Chronicom here, your friend. Always love him. But even the other Chronicoms, when they go back and run into Daisy, you know, and it's like, I mean, first I love that they identify Quake and kind of get right into agents are here, this is our mission. But he tells her, yes, there is a suspicious vehicle out back. Perhaps you would like to inspect it. I mean, geez, how suspicious can you be? Then the other cop, when he tells the guy, do not come, if you wish to live, do not come inside. There may be screaming. Got to remember to smile. Robot smiles, really, it's always something they have to work on. Not much in the way of fights this episode, not much of quaking in this episode too, which kind of surprised me. Most of Daisy's fights, very little quake. And I understand effects and things and costs and so on. And she's great hand-to-hand. Now there is the concern, of course, she's back in time. She doesn't want to necessarily do anything that other people could see and go, oh my god, what was that? On the other hand, most of these fights happened directly against Chronicoms and kind of in hidden spaces. So showing off powers, not so much. Loved, I mean, just not necessary to hide them. Loved the Quake uppercut to take down that first cop. That was awesome. And I did love to see kind of Daisy and Coulson fight together, both as superheroes. As Coulson had put it. Was fun, was hoping that it would go a little bit more. Again, not much in her quaking. Again, it was just more hand-to-hand fighting type of stuff, which was nice and fun. It was a quick fight, but that was fun to watch and see, and I'd actually love to see them kind of going at that again in a bigger, more exciting sense. Now, I did mention it before, but when Coulson was going through his 2-year download there, he did say a real interesting line about Ghost Rider. Take the deal, you're dead anyway. Which I found really interesting because, of course, his degradation of his heart wasn't supposed to be, was supposedly from taking Ghost Rider in. The deal is if he takes the Rider in, that burns out whatever the Kree blood did to him and would start to degrade his heart and go back into death and lead to his death at the end of season 5. That's what we were told. That's what we were believed. This line seems to indicate otherwise. Take the deal, you're dead anyway. That seems to imply that he is already going downhill, that perhaps the Kree infusion was only temporary. And again, we're playing with stuff here because we've jumped to the future. We know the Krees have used their blood on humans, and they've done that to sort of bring back. That's what they did with the Yo-Yo and stuff. That they've used that to kind of keep people going. So the fact that now it has sort of a limited time span might be an interesting interpretation, or perhaps maybe there's something else that is going on. But the fact that they included that line and were very specific about it, I really want to know if this is implying that the Ghost Rider deal isn't what led to Coulson's death, but perhaps something else. Oh, and finally, yeah, maybe you've noticed a little bit of different background going on here. Yeah, I thought I would spruce things up a little bit, go a little bit on S.H.I.E.L.D. coloring here for our final season. So, yeah, you know, thought I'd spruce it up. I'm not quite finished yet. Hopefully by next week I'll have this a little bit more done. But yeah, thought it would be fun. Also, I've done this because we've got a new show coming out. Friday, starting this Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, we are going to have Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's going to be a live stream discussion of the episode, of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in general, and where we want things to go. Kind of a whole exploration show. Should only be about an hour or so. I don't want it to go too long. But yeah, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern will be myself, Rob Stone from Smirking Gun Reviews, and Don Willi from A Dawn of Ice and Fire. Both of them have showed up on live streams discussing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for me before, so won't be anything unfamiliar there. So really hope you guys can join us live You can be part of the chat, throw in your questions, want to try and make it a little interactive. But of course, even if you miss it, it will be in the archives. So you can always check it out then. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up for now. Thank you so much for joining me for this review, for coming back for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for just being part of this whole final season. Really, getting to share it with y'all, it just makes it so much more enjoyable. So thank you again for joining me with these reviews. And as always, if you enjoyed them, go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, throw those down in the section below. What did you guys think about this episode? What is it that you want to see about this season? And do you think that we might be able to get this moved over to Disney Plus with a whole new expansion? I know, we're reaching, but hey, we're fans. We can go ahead and dream, can't we? Anyway, whatever your thoughts are, throw those down in the section below. Also, if you have any fan questions, toss those down. I will try and add those on to the end of reviews. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. We not only have these reviews, but like I mentioned before, Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Diving into that week's episode a little deeper, plus a little more exploration of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Marvel and the whole world as it is. So hope you can enjoy me with that. You won't miss any of those if you're a subscriber, and you do that by clicking this button right here. We'll go ahead and throw up for our latest reviews right here for you to check out. So that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. So nice to see you guys again. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.